50 is Moana. I love the kind of sludgy guitar intro and the way it's like so wide open sounding. It's got like a lonely kind of sound to it. That is the thing that really pushes this song up. The chorus is very good as well, but it's that intro guitar sound that they kind of repeat throughout the track with, want to say it's like a Rhodesy kind of piano just slightly in the background as well. Like those two bits, really, really nice. 49 is Prayers / Triangles, which is the opening track on Gore. Really solid way to open the album. It sounds fantastic. The chorus vocals are excellent, and that, it's sort of an ambient intro with that guitar line as well. I really love how that sounds. I'm not sure if some of the guitar parts are actually done by Sergio on this using a Fender Bass 6. I know certainly there are some songs on Ohms which definitely have that, and I think this could potentially be the case as well. But yeah, really, really cool track. 48 is Anniversary of an Uninteresting Event. I love this kind of, when I talk about palette cleansers, this for me is a really good palette cleanser. I do kind of wish it could have been at the end of the album. It would have been a cool way to finish the album off and a bit of a statement piece. But that kind of, the piano plus the sort of toy piano sound and the sort of bells and everything in the background, I really, really dig how this sounds. It's such a cool kind of ambient piece, but still sounds like so huge and big and soaring at the same time. Cracking. Number 47 is Lotion from Around the Fur. The way this song just absolutely massacres you when you listen to it. It's again a really heavy song, like Korea. It's not the lowest tuning they've ever played in by a long shot, but it's so aggressive. It's so powerful. It's so full. It's so fast. It's a great song, and it's like some of Chino's, I think, best screamed vocals as well. Number 46 is Bored. This is a cracking track. The sort of stacked palette chords that Steph plays on this song, that album's in E standard, and this song sounds so much heavier and so much lower than E standard, scientifically should sound. And I love Chino's vocals towards the end of it, where he really ramps up that high pitch kind of almost pushing into a belt kind of melodic vocals that he can do. And certainly this is for me the best vocal performance on that debut album for sure. Number 45 is Root, again from Adrenaline. This that riff is everything. That's such an amazing riff, and there's bands who've definitely ripped it off in the past, and having that high octave intro and then bringing it down to the low octaves for the main riff. He, as I said, Steph's got this uncanny ability to just pick one really cool riff and then just run with it for an entire song. That is such a well-written guitar-based piece of music. 44 is Gores from Koi no Yokan. Obviously, earlier I said about Gore having this kind of bit of a weird dichotomy where there's ambient bits and then there's heavy bits and they don't quite mesh together. This is the example of that done right. The huge, heavy intro riff, but then the sort of big open wide chorus. This is absolutely excellent. Those two counterplay really, really well. 43 is Genesis from Ohms. This is an excellent opening song and one of my favourite openers of their entire catalogue. That synth and guitar intro, or I think this is actually one of the examples where Sergio used a Fender Bass 6 and it's not actually Steph's guitar doing the intro, but regardless of what played it, those two together, and then that such a cool riff and the slightly off timing to it, dun dun dun, all together, the drumming and the guitar together and the bass and the synth together. Like, I really love all of those elements. The vocals are probably my least favourite part. They're still solid, but the instrumental portion of this is absolutely phenomenal. 42 is Prince from Diamond Eyes. This is a cool, creepy kind of song. I love that weird sort of, I guess it's bass, it could be the guitar line. That sort of verse and intro kind of sound, and then again that huge chorus sound. I think Steph's guitar tones on this album especially, like, they're quite sharp and piercing, but actually when they fill out the mix they kind of give a really, really huge sound when it comes to choruses and stuff like that. So yeah, like, absolutely banger. 41 is Change, In the House of Flies, and I think a lot of people would probably put this higher, but you know, it's, as I've said, we're already in the great portion of the list anyway. Like, there's no bad tracks at all here. This is an excellent song. One of the first Deftones songs I ever heard as well. You know, if you'd asked me this, 15, 20 years ago, I probably would have said that it was one of their best. But it's just that there's so many other good ones. Yeah, absolutely excellent song. That simple kind of power chord and suspended chord kind of riff, and Frank Delgado's weird ambient sort of, it's almost like whale sounds or something. Yeah, like, really, really cool track. And as I've mentioned previously, this is one of those characteristic Deftones sounding tracks. Number 40 is Rickets. This is an excellent heavy track, and I think it goes quite underappreciated. There's that sort of pre-chorus kind of part where it's, I've talked about the quote-unquote gent guitar sound before. This definitely has it. If you wanna call gent like a real thing, this has got it in spades. It's really heavy guitar tones on this, and those open breaks where there's no guitar and it's just cheese bass playing as well. Like, that is solid. I love that. 39 is Street Cart. I love the chorus on this song. That riff being sort of used throughout the song, and you're essentially getting just variations of that one riff. But the chorus, the "Here's my new address" line, like, some of it doesn't make any sense, like this random numbers and stuff, but it's really cool. It kind of has the aggression of the nu metal era while still sounding, a little bit more artistic, which, White Pony kind of is the sort of peak of that kind of approach to music. Number 38, gross name for a track, it's Labia. It's an excellent track though, and this is one of those peak songs with Chino having alternate melodic choices that aren't just the default, like, let's stick to the scale. Like, this is a real banger of an example for that in particular. The whole song is cool. The intro riff especially, I love how that sounds. That's got a little bit of a hint of that gentiness to it as well. But yeah, the vocals are what really sell it for me. 37, Ohms, the title track from the album Ohms. What a triumphant sounding song. It's really happy and like weird for Deftones, but weird in a good way. Like, you wouldn't expect them to have a song like this, but I'm glad they do. That riff is so effective with like the octave pedal that Steph must be using on that riff, and I love how it sounds. I love the weird harmonies that you get in the verse as well. Like, yeah, what a cool track. What a cool way to sort of have what a cool song to have as a first single from the album. What a cool way to finish the album. Like, it's so fresh and different, and potentially that's why some of the songs on the rest of the album didn't hit me as hard, because this kind of set the bar so high on that album. When I first heard this song, I was like, this is such a new approach, and I love how different it sounds to anything else they've ever done. 36, this is probably gonna annoy quite a few people. Pink Cell Phone. I know a lot of people hate this, and I've seen online many lists where this is the worst track ever by Deftones, and it's the only track I won't listen to. I skip it every time I listen to Saturday Night Rest. Like, yeah, don't get me wrong, it's a weird song, and you know, it's got that line about like greasy truck blowjobs or greasy truck stop blowjobs and stuff. But yeah, it's a weird song, but I think this is why Frank is in the band. You know, this kind of weird trip hoppy kind of sound, and the sort of atmospheric synthesizer layers that he has. This is sort of why he is so integral to the band. And the part that really, really grabs me is that weird, almost like it's like some sort of a weird vocal chant, or not a chant, it's like a vocal drone, a very low bassy choir note, and that, when that's brought in and it kind of like happens just as the song sort of picks up into its sort of chorus part. Yeah, I fucking love this song. So if you don't, I get it. It's not a traditional Deftones song, but for me, this is such an amazing track. Number 35 is Passenger from White Pony. This features Maynard James Keenan from Tool as a vocal feature. The counterplay between Maynard and Chino on this song is excellent. They kind of have very sort of mysterious presences about them as vocalists, and I think they work excellently together, and the guitar riff itself is fantastic. Lyrically, this song is huge. I love the lyrics on this, especially when you get the ambient guitar break that's just all guitar harmonics. The vocals and lyrics on that part are astounding. 34 is Command Control. I love the vocal performance on this. I love the heaviness of the riff. This is like such a straightforward, like heavy intro, heavy verse, cool chorus. Like it's like a distilled version of what Steph and Chino can do. But that riff, like this for me is like why 8 strings became a thing for the band when they had Diamond Eyes. 33 is Knife Party. Yeah, this song guitar wise is fantastic. And the chorus, like that, come get your knife, come get your knife. I love that. I love the part towards the sort of like bridge part towards the end of the track where you've got that female vocal part that's like a very big sort of world opera kind of vibe to it. It kind of reminds me actually of that sort of vocal break in Smack My Bitch Up by The Prodigy. It's got that similar sort of vibe to it. But yeah, like really cool track, and obviously inspired the band Knife Party to call themselves Knife Party. 32 is Rats 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 from Saturday Night Wrist. Yeah, this is a really heavy track. I love, there's a part right near the beginning, just as that sort of first run of the riff is finishing, where there's a pinch harmonic, which I think is probably the first pinch harmonic that there's ever been on a Deftones song. Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing to have in Deftones music. But yeah, it's really cool. I love the aggressiveness of the vocals. They kind of remind me quite a bit of Hexagram in terms of like, you know, it's kind of like repetitions of certain words that just have like a rhythmic and like thematic importance to them. And that riff at the end of the song, the dun, 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 I love that. That again is like not characteristic of Deftones at all. You know, you wouldn't really ever see or hear Abe doing the sort of like double pedal thing, but it works so well in this. 31 is Combat from Saturday Night Wrist. The way that this song has that, it's like that long ambient intro that's kind of like sounds like some sort of weird like military kind of radio conversation or something like that, and then you've got just the way it just smashes straight in to a really heavy riff. I love that. Yeah, there's not much to say about the song, but it's just so cool. Number 30 is Mascara. I think this song goes quite underappreciated, but it is fantastic, and lyrically it's got some of those amazing like weird creepy romantic vocals or lyrics that Chino loves to do. Yeah, it's got this weird dichotomy. It's like a love letter, but listing all the things that he hates about a person, which is so cool. And I think a lot of people are probably put off by the quite soft and off-kilter guitar intro, but then, you know, it kind of picks up for the chorus, and yeah, I love how that sounds. 29 is Mine from Saturday Night Wrist. This is the one with Serge Tankian from System of a Down on it. This one really shines with his vocal feature. He's got such an atmospheric sounding voice, and this track works so well during the chorus, and when there's kind of the sort of bridge part as well, where it's just his vocal part coming through. Yeah, that's the real shining star of this, is his vocals. 28 is Entombed. Quite a different song again. Not the sort of thing you would have expected from Deftones, that sort of intro tapping riff. Again, like Ohms, has quite a triumphant kind of sound to it. It's got sort of hope behind it. Yeah, really, really cool track, and something quite different from a lot of what they've done. Definitely check this one out if you like the sort of more airy ambient side of what they do. 27 is Royal from Diamond Eyes. Very simple song, and this feels like a Cheeto kind of song versus a Steph kind of song. Really, really sounds great though. Reminds me quite a bit of Alice in Chains, so maybe I'm wrong, but it feels like some of the songwriting elements behind it are inspired a bit by Alice in Chains. 26 is Bloody Cape from the self-titled album. I spoke about this song already during the singles list, so I won't delve too deep into it, but it's a really awesome song, and like that main guitar riff, like that to me is some of the most straightforward but aggressive and hard-hitting music that they've ever done. Another really, really heavy track for the discography. 25 is Lucky You, again from the self-titled album. Entirely the opposite of Bloody Cape. This is all electronic. It's pretty much just an ambient track all the way through with some little vocal parts. There's a spot where there's like a very small break, and it kind of brings back the elements very slowly that have been in the song previous before it then picks back up, which I think is fantastic. And the bass, the sort of like bass synthesizer that's going on underneath, it almost sounds like a string machine of some sort. Yeah, it is excellent. I think, again, you know, like I said with Pink Cell Phone, the Frank Delgado aspect of Deftones is quite underappreciated, and I love that this is a song that got to exist on the self-titled, just because the rest of the album is so sort of forward and heavy hitting. 24 is Around the Fur from the album Around the Fur. I love this riff. It just sounds amazing. There's a little bit that Steph does where he's like using the middle C string rather than the low C string, which it's a tiny element. But yeah, the drums on this, especially the like, yeah, it's excellent. 23, Diamond Eyes. A great opener for the album Diamond Eyes. I'm quite surprised how sort of nice this sounds, how melodically pleasing it is to listen to, when that intro riff should be like quite jarring to listen to. But yeah, it works really, really well, and yeah, fantastic track. 22, kind of cheating here. This is technically a B-side or a bonus track or what have you, but it's The Boys Republic. I just love this song. I wanted it to be in here, and I wanted it to be high on the list. That didgeridoo sound in the intro with really muffled guitars with all the reverb on the drums and everything, and then, you know, leading up to that amp feedback, and then building into the riff with the scream and everything. This is, I don't get why it wasn't on the main album. It's such a good song. It's such a simple song. Anybody can learn to play it. If you want to learn Deftones riffs, this is definitely one to pick up. It's so straightforward. Yeah, it's amazing. 21 is Up Up Down Down, Left Right A B Select Start from Saturday Night Wrist. So this is like an ambient jam where all the different band members are on the wrong instruments. Like Steph's playing drums on this track. Yeah, I don't know what the sort of the writing process for this song was, whether or not it was quite literally just a jam, or whether they had a bit more thought in terms of how they went into it. But the guitar on this with Frank's synthesizer stuff is excellent, and I love the sort of delay that they've put onto the drums, so that it's just got layers and layers and layers and layers. It sounds like there's like 10 people drumming all at once without being overwhelming. Yeah, it's a great track. Number 20 is Minerva. I'm pretty sure if you've heard of Deftones, you've heard Minerva. It's a great song. It feels so wide open and huge. It's a very beautiful song. Lyrically, it sounds quite different to a lot of the stuff on that album, on the self-titled album. It's a real standout track, and obviously that's why they used it as a single. 19 is Battle Axe from the self-titled album. This is kind of the most stonerish kind of sounding Deftones song, or the most doom or sludgy or whatever you want to call it. It's really, really great. The bass melodies that go on in the verse, and in fact in the chorus as well, that's something that Chi was so good at, and I haven't really touched upon it as much as I probably should have. The way he would play notes that don't relate necessarily to what the guitar is doing, but they are complementary notes, and it's so refreshing to have bass lines that aren't literally just playing the root note of whatever the guitarist is playing. That's something that I think, even though Sergio, when he joined the band for bass, he's an excellent bass player, but his approach is very different, and I think that Chi's approach to bass kind of had something quite special to it in that regard. 18 is My Own Summer, and I think probably a lot of people would probably put this way higher if they were doing their own list, which is fair enough. It is an excellent track. For me, this is probably the best drum sound that they've ever had. That snare is absolutely fantastic. More bands could definitely learn from Around the Fur and White Pony in terms of how to approach drum sounds. That a lot of these days you get sort of very low kind of pitched snares that kind of boom out, and they're cool. They fill a sound stage, but they don't actually really work in some songs, and they kind of get buried in the mix. And I really love how snappy and pingy the snare in this song is. And of course, the rest of the track, that guitar riff is legendary. The vocals on it are legendary. The screamed parts, I don't really need to tell you more about this song. Everybody knows what this song is about. Number 17 is Hearts/Wires. This is a phenomenal song. I kind of wish more of Gore had been like this, with the sort of just have those guitar lines, let them ring out. Don't always go straight into a riff, it's excellent. The long intro, you kind of get time to appreciate the sound of the song, the feel of the song. It's got almost a sort of synth wavy kind of feel to it. It's excellent. Number 16, You've Seen the Butcher. Such a cool sounding riff, kind of got a funky kind of sexiness to it. There's definitely the song's almost got an erotic kind of vocal kind of or lyrical approach to it. It's just an excellent track. Number 15, Beauty School. This is what I think the sort of teaser track for Eros went on to become. So back in sort of 2007-ish, 2008, there was a teaser song which ended up being sort of named Dallas by a lot of the sort of Deftones fan base. Whether or not it's actually called Dallas is another question. But this kind of has a lot of elements of that song, and I feel like this is what that song became. The guitar intro and the weird synthy kind of noise is excellent, and the sort of bringing that back for the very sort of lo-fi fade out at the end is amazing. The chorus itself, fantastic. Excellent song. We are now very much in the upper echelons of the tracks where everything is pretty much It's perfect. Number 14 is When Girls Telephone Boys. I think a lot of people will probably put this way lower on the list, but there are a few reasons why I love it. One, the riff is insane. Two, there is a synth element, and like I said, with the self-titled album, the synth elements are very much buried in the mix, but if you listen out for it, it really completes the track. And there's a sort of synth break which is really cool. Certainly check out the live versions of this song if you want to hear that as well, because the live versions push it way up in the mix and you actually get to appreciate it. And lyrically, I love the sort of poetry of this track. Some of the words don't quite make sense, but they do make sense. And it's so cool sounding, some of the lines. Yeah, it's phenomenal. I potentially would even consider putting it higher. Number 13, Die the Flu. This bass intro is probably the best bass composition across the entire discography. The way Chi and Steph, like the counterplay between the two of them, Chi is essentially like in the chorus. He's basically the backbone of the song, and not just in the sense that he's a bass player and the sort of bass section is a backbone of a song, but like melodically as well, he's kind of really driving the song forward so that Steph can play these sort of higher parts without having to worry about a low guitar being there. And yeah, like having that sort of presence to the bass is really excellent. Number 12, Be Quiet and Dry. This is basically 2 riffs plus a bridge and some cool vocals, but all of the parts of this song go together so well. And the chorus especially, there's a couple of parts where Chi just plays a single open note on the bass and just lets it ring out, and it adds such a vast amount of space to the song, and it really pushes the size of that chorus up by, a factor of 1,000,000. Yeah, it's unreal. Number 11, Hole in the Earth. Obviously this is a tumultuous song lyrically. This is very much about Chino basically talking about how he doesn't like being in the band. But you know what? They kind of made it work. As is often the case, the most turbulent time for a band is sometimes their most creative, and this is a great way to open an album. And the riff is such a simple riff, the approach to the song is so simple, and then you get that sort of spacey chorus that comes in and kind of kicks your ass while still being really huge and open and wide. Yeah, what a great song. Number 10 is Kim Dracula. Fantastic riff, and this was one that lyrically sort of clued me into, and I could be entirely off base on this, but made me think that the whole album, Saturday Night Wrist, is sort of a very sort of slight concept album to talk about ending the end of the earth, essentially. Every single track seems to have elements of sort of like natural disasters or threats to the world, and part of me thinks that is kind of part of the theme of the album, but this song certainly, like, lyrically has that in spades. Number 9 is Rosemary. What an intro, and this is definitely the way that you have the counterplay of heavy and ambient going back and forth with one another without it sounding weird, especially that ending riff that I know a lot of people don't like, but I personally think it sounds fantastic, and yeah, the whole song itself is excellent. Number 8 is 976-Evil. This track has some amazing vocals in it. There's one particular line, "And I Wonder," and the way the guitar sort of plays in the background, where it just chromatically dun 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 like that steps up. Yeah, the vocal lines with the guitar, like that match of the sort of soaring, high-pitched, sort of almost falsetto vocals with the really heavy guitar is matched perfectly. Number 7, Hexagram. Obviously I talked about this before in my singles list, but just to go over it again, it's 2 words, 2 riffs, and it's heavy as fuck, and I love it. Number 6, Beware. If you haven't listened to this track, definitely give it some time. I know it's just an album track, but one, it's a fantastic song, and it's got a very proggy feel to it, which perhaps could have been Bob Ezrin's influence when they were in the studio. The real sort of kicker for this song is that outro riff. I've said before about heavy Deftones stuff, and there's some very heavy tracks. This is the heaviest thing they have ever written, without a shadow of a doubt. It's such a good riff. You cannot beat this riff. It's just so forward and so... it's a punishing riff. And yeah, that as the outro riff, it comes out of nowhere, and it's like that cherry on top for the rest of the song. You know, you already had an excellent song, and then you've got this to round it off. Yeah, absolutely perfect. Number 5 is Sex Tape. I think a lot of people probably have heard this song, actually. It seems to be one of the more popular ones, probably because it's quite a bit more accessible. That kind of delayed guitar intro at the beginning, and, you know, essentially repeated all the way through. This is very much a Chino song, and I appreciate it for that. It's a beautiful track, and the music video as well is really excellent. Like, all of the sort of colours and the underwater shots and stuff, like, it's kind of like the best and most true to the song music video that they've ever done. Number 4, Riviere. This is an unreal track, and not enough people talk about it, in my opinion. This is the perfect end to Saturday Night Rest. You've got, you know, such a long build-up with like layers and ambient guitar and simple chords, and then just this punishing riff at the end once Chino starts to really get into his vocals. Yeah, I don't know why this song isn't more talked about. It is absolutely perfect. Number 3, Pink Maggot. Yeah, what a way to finish White Pony. Certainly as far as like artistic expressions go, this is amazing. The delay on the guitar riff at the beginning, or the guitar intro, it goes so well together, and that sort of throaty scream that Chino does, where you can kind of hear that in the background just as it goes into the main riff of the track. Yeah, this is why Back to School is as low on the list as it is, because this already existed. This is the correct version of that track. It sounds so right. Yeah, it feels so emotional, so expressive. It's fantastic. Number 2, Xerxes from Saturday Night Rest. Yeah, another really emotional track, and it almost reads like someone's like last words, or you know, the last thing they ever put to paper, or something like that. It's a really beautiful track. The drumming in this, I think, while it's so simple, really complements the song, and the drumming with Chino's soaring vocals, and, you know, those choruses where he's just singing goodbye. Yeah, like unreal. And finally, number 1, it is Digital Bath from White Pony. This is, without a shadow of a doubt, the best Deftones song ever made, and I don't think it's ever going to be beat by anything they do in the future. This, to me, is the purest summation of what they can do with heavy riffs, with Steph Carpenter's like choice of like suspended chords, Chino's soaring vocals, Frank Delgado's like atmospheric synth sound, and, you know, the huge drum sound that Abe had on White Pony, and, you know, Chi's use of like slides on the bass and stuff like that. Yeah, to me, it's just the perfect summation of how Deftones should sound. The bridge part, where you've got that really sort of watery sounding guitar, the Chino's high pitched, you know, almost screamed notes towards the end when he says "I feel like more," and the sort of ambience that you get at the beginning of the track, where it's just the drumming, the lyrics as well. It's again that perfect sort of creepy, love letter kind of vibe. Yeah, I can't really say much more than it is the perfect Deftones song. If you aren't familiar with Deftones, I definitely recommend checking this track out, especially. You know, check out all of the songs on the list. As I said, you know, there's very few what I would call bad songs. For me, you know, the stuff that I definitely lean towards are the more ambient, the atmospheric songs, which is why mine has been laid out as it is. But yeah, that's my full list. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Hopefully I haven't said that I love or the word riff too many times. And yeah, let me know if you've got any improvements on the list, anything that you would like to have seen differently, anything that you personally think should be at number one, anything that you definitely hate that you think should be lower. Yeah, that's it. But yeah, until next time, thanks for watching and we'll see you again. Cheers.